At dinner, Dad raised his glass. Your sister's the only one who actually helps this family. Everyone applauded. I smiled and said, then she won't need the $4,400 I send each month for her kids' school. The table fell silent. My sister froze, her husband stared at me. You ever sit at a table full of people who claim to love you, but somehow manage to make you feel like a damn ghost? That was me last Saturday. My dad turned 60 and decided to throw himself a big dinner. Not a party, he hates the word party. A dinner. Formal, catered, everyone in their best clothes like it was a wedding rehearsal. They rented out this fancy room at a restaurant downtown. Candles, live jazz, printed menus with our last name on top like we were some dynasty. My mom planned every inch of it like she was hosting royalty. And in a way Melanie was coming. Melanie, my younger sister. The golden child. The success story. The mom of the year. The one who can do no wrong. She arrived with her husband Tyler and their 2 kids, both dressed like catalog models. You'd think they were the Kennedys if you didn't know better. My cousin Jenna even said loud enough for me to hear, Melanie always looks so put together, doesn't she? I just smiled and poured another glass of wine. I don't usually go to these things. Work keeps me busy and honestly they drain me. But this was Dad's 60th. The big one. The kind you can't skip without being branded the ungrateful daughter forever. So I showed up, smiled, nodded along to conversations, answered the same questions about when I'd be settling down, and tried not to roll my eyes every time someone complimented Melanie's parenting. Then dinner started. Appetizers, small talk, the usual. Tyler was droning on about refinancing their mortgage and how it was such a smart move, as if he invented interest rates. Melanie kept brushing invisible lint off her dress and tossing her hair like she was in a shampoo commercial. I listened. I nodded. I did what I always do, stayed in my lane. And then my father stood up to make a toast. He tapped his glass with a spoon and waited for everyone to quiet down. He was smiling. He always smiles before saying something that'll hit like a punch in the throat. He said he was grateful for family. For the life he built. For my mother. Then he turned to Melanie, lifted his glass and said, your sister's the only one who actually helps this family. The room broke into applause. Real, actual applause. Aunt Linda clapped like she was at the opera. Tyler leaned back, smug like he was waiting for the cameras to pan to him. Melanie had this fake surprised look on her face, like she didn't know it was coming, even though she absolutely did. And I sat there smiling. I didn't move at first. Just let them enjoy their little moment. But when the clapping died down, I stood up slowly and raised my glass too. Then she won't need the $4,400 I send each month for her kids' school. Just like that. Simple. No anger in my voice. No drama. I said it like I was commenting on the wine. Silence hit the table like someone had pulled the fire alarm. Even the waitstaff froze. I swear the jazz trio missed a beat. Melanie blinked. Tyler looked like I slapped him. My mom's mouth was half open. And Dad, he just stared at me like he'd heard a noise he couldn't quite place. Kept going. For 2 years now. Tuition, tutoring, aftercare, even that summer robotics camp last July. You know, the one she posted about like they paid for it themselves. I sat down. Took a sip of my drink. Nobody clapped that time. Melanie didn't say a word. Her face was blank, like her brain had suddenly gone offline. Tyler looked like he wanted to jump in but then thought better of it. Nobody said thank you. Nobody asked why I kept it quiet. Nobody defended me. So I just finished my meal, made polite conversation with Jenna and left before dessert. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, already drafting the email to my accountant. Payments stop next month. Let's see how helpful she is on her own. I expected a storm after that dinner. At least some kind of message, maybe from Tyler asking what the hell I was thinking or Melanie trying to explain herself. But nothing came. No texts. No calls. Not even a fake apology. Saturday passed. Sunday too. By Monday the silence had settled in like fog. It was so quiet it was almost funny. Like they thought if they didn't mention it, maybe I'd feel bad enough to undo it on my own. Instead I emailed my accountant. Told him to stop all transfers to Melanie's account. No more tuition payments. No more aftercare, no more robotics camp, no more anything. The money I'd been sending each month quietly without fail for 2 straight years, would now stay exactly where it belonged, with me. He replied within the hour. Done. Just that. A small word but it felt like a weight lifting. I expected that to be the trigger but even then, nothing. Just more curated social media posts from Melanie pretending her life was picture perfect. Fall leaves. Matching jackets on the kids. #grateful. One post said private blessings not public announcements and I almost choked. She must have thought she was being clever. Then 5 days after the dinner she texted. Hey, can we talk? I told her to come by that evening. I wasn't going to chase her. She showed up dressed like she was still trying to convince me, or maybe herself, that nothing had changed. Expensive bag, gold earrings, hair done like she was stepping out of a commercial. She didn't sit down. "So that's it?" she asked. "That's it." "Well, you really needed to embarrass me like that?" I said she embarrassed herself when she let our father believe she was the one doing all the helping. I didn't tell him to say that. You didn't correct him either. She didn't have a comeback for that. Just stood there shifting her weight like she was deciding whether to scream or cry. Fine. Let it be that way. She left like she expected me to call her back. I didn't. What happened next didn't even take long. Melanie's post slowed down, then stopped altogether. Tyler's Facebook went dark. Then came the homeschool photos, grainy low-effort shots with vague captions like, "making it work," and "new beginnings." Except I knew what was really happening. One of my friends works part-time at the same school the kids had gone to. She texted me, "Did you hear Melanie pulled them out?" 2 days after that, Melanie showed up again. No text this time. Just rang my bell at 8:40 p.m. I opened the door and she walked in like she owned the place. Same sister who used to call me in tears asking for help was now glaring at me like I'd stolen something from her. "You don't get it," she said. "You've ruined everything." I let her talk. Tyler's hours got cut. They had to put a hold on their mortgage. The credit cards were maxed out. The school wouldn't let them run another month unpaid. She said the kids were confused, angry, and that it was my fault. That I threw them into chaos over some bruised ego. I reminded her that for 2 years, I gave nearly half my salary to make sure her family didn't drown. I never once asked for recognition. I never once brought it up. Until she let me be humiliated like I was the useless one. She didn't apologize. Instead she said this. "You've always been jealous of me. That did it. I didn't think. I didn't plan it. My hand just moved." The sound of the slap was louder than I expected. The kind of sound that makes a room stop breathing. She stood there frozen, blinking. Then turned around and walked out without a word. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel sorry either. I felt done. Whatever came next, she could face it without my help. After Melanie walked out of my apartment that night, I sat there in the dark, not moving for at least an hour. No music, no TV, no lights. Just silence. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel broken either. I felt something else, like a knot in my chest had finally come undone. 2 years of quiet resentment, late-night transfers, and watching her parade around like a queen while I picked up the bill. It had all been sitting under my skin, waiting to boil over. And now it had. The first thing I noticed the next morning was how peaceful my bank app looked. Clean. No pending transfers. No automatic deductions for someone else's life. Just my money sitting there waiting to be used for me for once. The second thing I noticed was the silence. Melanie didn't text. Tyler didn't call. No guilt trip. No drama. Nothing. But then the silence started to stretch like they were trying to wait me out. I ignored it. I focused on work, started planning a solo trip I'd been putting off for years. I didn't even feel petty. I felt like I was reclaiming something. But the fallout started fast. One of my old college friends who worked part-time at the kids' private school texted me a few days later. Casual, like she didn't know anything. "Hey, weird question, but didn't your niece and nephew go to Arbor Hills? Just saw a withdrawal notice go out for 2 students, siblings." Whole thing seemed kind of sudden. I replied with a shrug emoji and kept walking. A week later, my cousin Jenna posted a group photo at some community festival. In the background, clear as day, was Melanie, except she looked off. No makeup, wearing flats and a plain t-shirt, hair tied back like she just rolled out of bed. No staged smile. No curated angles. And no Tyler. Then came the house listing. A guy from my high school who still lives in our hometown posted a picture of Melanie's house. The one they used to brag about constantly, with a for sale sign in front and the caption, "Crazy market right now." I didn't comment. Didn't message her. Just watched the quiet unravel. Then 12 days after that dinner, Melanie showed up again, this time at my job. I was walking through the parking lot after a long day, carrying my laptop bag and half a bottle of iced coffee, when I saw her leaning against a car across from mine. Big sunglasses. Hoodie. Trying to look casual like she wasn't slowly coming apart. She walked over without a word. Didn't ask how I was. Didn't apologize. "I just need help. 1 month. So." She looked tired. Her voice didn't have that usual edge. It almost sounded like defeat. Almost. But then she kept going. We're behind, okay? The school wouldn't let us stretch another month. Tyler's hours got cut. Our savings are gone. We didn't expect the shift to happen so fast. I asked her what shift she meant. She looked at me like I was stupid. You cutting us off. You didn't give us any warning. I let out a quiet laugh. I gave you 2 years. She got quiet for a second, like she was deciding how honest to be. Just 1 month. I swear I'll figure it out after that. I asked her how she planned to figure it out. He shrugged. Said they'd sell the dining table. Maybe her engagement ring. Something. Anything. She just needed breathing room. I didn't answer. That's when her tone changed. Like she realized begging wasn't going to work. You think this makes you better than me, don't you? I stared at her. You think just because you've got your little job and no kids, that means you're more responsible? She said it like she was spitting poison. Like the fact that I didn't have children was some personal failure I should feel guilty about. That's when I leaned in, looked her in the eye, and said the only thing I knew she wouldn't be able to spin. You don't know what gratitude looks like. She didn't say anything. Just stood there staring at me like I'd hit her again. Then she turned and walked away without another word. I stood there in the parking lot long after she was gone, letting it sink in. She'd finally said the quiet part out loud. That to her I wasn't family. I was a wallet. But that was the moment I knew something else too. Melanie was out of plans. She'd run out of moves. Tyler couldn't save her. The house was on the market. The kids were out of school. She'd gone through every backup she had, and now she was standing at the edge of her own failure with no one left to blame. And no one was coming to rescue her. Not this time. After that scene in the parking lot, I didn't expect Melanie to come back again. She said her piece. I said mine. Lines were drawn. She made her decision, to keep her pride, and I made mine, to stop letting her live off of me. So when I got an email 4 days later, I thought it might be from my accountant or some leftover subscription I forgot to cancel. But it was from the school. Subject: confirmation of sponsorship. Fall semester. Hi Ms. Waller, we're reaching out to confirm whether you'll be renewing tuition sponsorship for Madison and Jace L. for the upcoming fall semester. As of now, we've received word from the family that you're continuing the arrangement, but we wanted to verify before proceeding with re-enrollment. Please advise at your earliest convenience. I read it twice, not sure I was seeing it right. He told them I was still paying. She didn't ask, she assumed. Worse, she told them I was renewing like it was a given. I sat there staring at my screen, feeling something twist in my stomach. She didn't just lie. She used my name. My reputation. She gave them a version of me that she thought would cover for her. I didn't respond. Not immediately. I needed to think. But that night Tyler called me. First time he's ever used my number directly. Not even a text first. He sounded polite, like he was trying on respect for the first time in his life. He said Melanie was under a lot of pressure. That the kids were upset and confused. That she told them I'd agreed to help again and they believed it. They thought they were going back to school. He didn't say it like an accusation. More like a warning. Like it was somehow my responsibility now to keep her story going. I didn't answer any of that. I just said, she used my name without permission. Then he said something that actually made me pause. You don't get it. He told them you were their second mom. That sat in the air like smoke. Second mom. Not aunt. Not helper. Not generous sister. Second mom. He kept talking, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was thinking back to birthday parties I paid for, doctor visits I covered, school trips she couldn't afford. All those nights she called crying about bills and I wired her money before she even asked. And she sold that story to her kids like I was just part of the system. Like I owed them. I hung up and didn't say a word. The next morning I replied to the school. Hi, I will not be sponsoring Madison and Jace's tuition moving forward. I was not informed or consulted regarding this, and any statements to the contrary are false. Please direct all future communication to their parents. Then I blocked Tyler. And then I blocked Melanie. That should have been the end of it. But Melanie doesn't do endings. She drags everything out like a bad season of television, hoping someone will feel sorry enough to renew her. 3 days later I came home to find a box at my front door. Plain white. No postage, no name. Just sitting there like someone dropped it off by hand. Inside were a pair of earrings I'd forgotten I even owned. Expensive ones. Missing for months. There was a note. You left these at the lake house last summer. Thought you'd want them back. It was written on a torn sheet of paper from one of my journals. Not a notepad. Not a card. My journal. From my nightstand drawer. But that wasn't even the worst part. The handwriting wasn't hers. It was messy. Uneven. Too neat to be hers, too clumsy to be an adult's. One of the kids wrote it. She made her child write a note for something she stole. I just sat down on the floor with the box in my lap, trying to decide whether to scream or laugh or throw it all out the window. This wasn't just desperation anymore. It was rot. The kind of rot that spreads when someone can't admit they've lost control, so they start reaching into places they don't belong. I put the earrings back in the box and shoved it in the closet. Haven't touched it since. Later that night, I checked the school's website. Both kids were no longer listed on the student directory. Their names were gone. Then, as if on cue, I got an email from my dad. Subject: call me please. He never emails. Ever. I didn't reply right away. I stared at the screen, knowing exactly what was coming next. She was out of options. And now she was sending backup. I waited a full 24 hours before answering my dad's email. Not out of spite, but because I already knew what it was. Not a message, but a trap disguised as family concern. And I needed time to decide how I wanted to handle it. Not emotionally. Strategically. When I finally called, he didn't even say hello. Just launched straight into it. Scarlett, I need you to come by the house. We all do. That told me everything I needed to know. Melanie had done what she always does when she's cornered. She called in backup. I didn't ask questions. I just said I'd be there the next evening. When I walked into my parents' house, it felt like walking into a prearranged intervention. Everyone was seated already. Mom and Dad on the sofa, Tyler perched stiffly on the edge of a chair, and Melanie sitting with her arms crossed like she was trying hard not to look like she was the one who needed something. No one smiled. No one stood up. My mom just gave me that look. The one she pulls out when she wants to seem gentle, but is really about softening you up before she says something ridiculous. Dad started talking first. He said this wasn't about the past. That what was done. He said the focus now was on the kids. How they were struggling. How they missed their school. Their friends. How the change had disrupted their routines and was affecting their emotional well-being. I stood there, not sitting, just listening. Then he got to the real reason I was there. We're not asking you to cover everything again. Just a couple thousand. Enough to hold their spots until Tyler's work situation gets sorted. We'll pay you back. I looked over at Melanie. She didn't look at me. She just stared at the rug like she was trying to memorize its pattern. I asked one question. Has anyone here ever thanked me for what I already gave? Silence. Then Melanie, of course, said we didn't ask you to. I almost laughed. She really thought that made it better. Like not asking made 2 years of draining me financially somehow more noble. I said that's exactly why we're here now. And I turned to leave. But then my dad stood up, and for the first time in a very long time he said something that actually stopped me. I'm sorry. He looked me in the eye and he said he was sorry for how he treated me. For believing Melanie's version of things. For letting her build herself up at my expense. He said he hadn't realized how deep it went, how much I'd done, until it was gone. He didn't excuse it. He didn't deflect. He just owned it. Then he reached into his pocket and handed me a check. It's from us. We're not expecting you to do this alone anymore. But please, just help them get through this patch. I didn't take the check. But I agreed to help, my way. I told him I would pay the school directly. Not Melanie. Not Tyler. Just 2 months, enough to stabilize the kids. That was it. After that, they'd be on their own. No negotiation. No extensions. No quiet second wave of payments. He nodded. Tyler nodded. My mom looked tired. Melanie said nothing. I left. 3 days later, Melanie showed up at my door. No call. No warning. She looked like she hadn't slept. Hair tied up, hoodie over leggings, no makeup. She was holding her phone in both hands like she needed something to anchor herself. Can I come in? I let her. She stood in my living room and said exactly what I expected, and nothing I believed. Thank you. I was wrong. You've done more for my family than I ever admitted. I didn't mean for it to go like this. I was just trying to hold everything together. She said all the right words. The kind of words that sound good when someone else coaches you through them. The sentences were too neat. The apology had the pacing of something memorized. I could hear my mother's influence in every line. Possibly even my dad's. Maybe even Tyler's. She said, I know I should have told the truth. She said, I let pride get in the way. He said, I'm grateful. Truly. But none of it felt like it was coming from her. And I wasn't mad about that. I just noted it. Because even though she didn't mean half of what she said, she had to say it now. Because now she needed something. Not money. Not directly. She needed me to not speak up. To not tell people what she'd done. To not let the story turn against her any more than it already had. She needed this to quietly end before it spread. So I nodded. I let her finish. And when she left, I didn't say you're welcome. I just said good luck. Because whatever was coming for her next, I wasn't going to be there for it. After Melanie left my apartment, the strange thing was, I didn't feel anything. No weight off my chest, no closure, no lingering anger. It was just done. She came in, delivered the speech someone clearly wrote for her, and walked out. There was no real emotion behind it. Just enough sincerity to keep the family off her back. It wasn't for me. I knew that the second she opened her mouth. That was a performance, carefully rehearsed and just humble enough to pass. She needed to say she'd done her part. Check the box. Move on. And honestly, fine. Let her. I had no interest in dragging it out any further. I kept my end of the deal. 2 months of tuition. Wired directly to the school. I emailed the receipt to the billing office and CC'd my dad. No message. Just the numbers. It was cold, clean, and final, exactly how I wanted it. Then I went back to living my life. Work got busy. I booked a solo weekend trip to the coast, something I hadn't done in years. For the first time in a long while, my money stayed in my account. I stopped budgeting for another family's life and started doing small things for myself again without guilt. Melanie didn't text. Tyler didn't call. And I didn't expect them to. But 3 weeks later, I found myself back at my parents' house for my mom's birthday. She begged me to come, promised it would be low-key, said Melanie might stop by for a minute but wouldn't stay long. Of course, when I arrived, Melanie was already there. She was in the kitchen helping my mom cut slices of pie like she hadn't spent the last year pretending I didn't exist. She turned, handed me a plate and said hi. Not cold, not warm, just neutral. Civil. She didn't linger. We went through dinner like nothing had happened. Small talk. Kids. Work. Bye. Tyler wasn't there. Working late, my mom said. Sure. After dessert, while people were saying their goodbyes, Melanie came up beside me and asked if we could talk. I followed her out to the front porch, unsure of what she wanted now. She didn't waste time. Thank you for helping. I didn't say anything. She looked at the railing, then at me. I should have told everyone the truth a long time ago. What you actually did. What I took. I didn't because, well, I didn't want to be the one who failed. That's the truth. She paused like she wasn't sure whether to keep going. Then she added quietly, Mom told me if I didn't apologize properly, she was going to tell the whole family herself. Everything. There it was. I knew it. That whole apology weeks ago. The one that sounded like a monologue from a Hallmark drama. It wasn't hers. It was written for her. Coached, probably rehearsed. Mom must have pushed her into it to save face. She gave a half laugh, not really amused. But this part, this is just me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know I'm not proud of how I handled it. I nodded. Still didn't speak. Then she said something I hadn't prepared for. The kids still ask about you. They think you're the one who got them back in school. I didn't correct them. I raised an eyebrow. He shrugged. You're a better example than I am right now. For once, she didn't sound defensive. He sounded tired. And real. I let the silence stretch between us. Then I said, they're lucky to have someone in the family who cares about the truth. Maybe next time that can be you. She didn't argue. She just nodded. And that was that. I went back inside. She left a few minutes later. We haven't spoken since. Not really. We nod at holidays. Exchange one-word greetings. Keep it surface level. She doesn't pretend anymore. I don't either. It's not friendship. It's not forgiveness. It's distance with boundaries. My dad mailed me a check 2 weeks after that dinner. Full amount of what I covered for the kids. Folded into a birthday card. No note. No thank you. Just his name on the bottom. I deposited it and never brought it up. The rest of the family never asked for details. I think they knew better. Me. I kept living. Not a penny has left my account for Melanie since. Not for school. Not for groceries. Not for crisis fixes. And the funny thing is, when you stop letting people treat your generosity like a guarantee, they start figuring things out fast. Melanie did. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not honestly, but she learned the hard way that I wasn't a line item in her budget anymore. I was just her sister. And I finally started acting like it.